Today I want to talk about something that happens in workplaces all the time, but a lot of leaders don't recognize it until it's too late. By the time a high performer resigns, they have often been disengaging for months. The real loss started long before the resignation letter ever showed up. This conversation matters for two groups of people. It matters for employees who feel themselves pulling back and wondering what changed. And it matters for leaders who may be missing the warning signs right in front of them. Now let's get into it. When people talk about employees leaving, the conversation usually starts at the end. People ask, why did they quit? Why did they leave such a good position? Why didn't they say anything? Why didn't management know? But that line of thinking misses the real issue. The resignation is usually not the beginning of the story. It is the final chapter. For high performers especially, disengagement tends to happen in stages. At first they come in motivated. They care. They want to contribute. They want to solve problems. They want to do excellent work. They want to make things better. These are often the people who take initiative without being told. They notice what is broken. They offer solutions. They take ownership. They care about the details. They care about outcomes. They care about standards. But here's where things start to go wrong. In the wrong leadership environment, that level of commitment does not get developed. It gets exploited. And that's a hard truth. A lot of workplaces love high performers as long as they can extract from them, as long as they can rely on them, as long as they can pile more work on them, as long as they can assume they will figure it out, as long as they can hold them to a higher standard without giving them higher support. That is where frustration starts building. Because high performers are not asking to be babied. They're not asking for nonstop praise. They're not asking for special treatment. But they do want something very reasonable. They want trust. They want clarity. They want consistency. They want meaningful recognition. And they want to know their effort is not just being used, but respected. When those things are missing, something shifts internally. They may not complain right away. In fact, many high performers do the opposite. They keep showing up. They keep delivering. They keep handling business. They keep smiling in meetings. They keep being the dependable one. And that is exactly why leaders miss what is happening. Because they confuse productivity with engagement. Just because someone is still performing does not mean they're still invested. That is the mistake. A high performer can still be competent and completely disconnected at the same time. Let me say that again because it's important. A high performer can still be competent and completely disconnected at the same time. That means they may still hit deadlines. They may still produce strong work. They may still look calm and professional. But internally, they have started withdrawing. And what does that withdrawal look like? It looks like no longer volunteering ideas in meetings. It's staying quiet when they see a preventable problem. It looks like doing what is required and no more. It looks like no longer bringing creative energy to a place that keeps shutting it down. It looks like protecting their effort because they no longer trust the environment with their best. That is quiet disengagement. And the reason it is so dangerous is because it does not always look dramatic. There is no explosion. There's no major confrontation. There's no obvious rebellion. Sometimes it's just a slow emotional retreat. And leaders who are not paying attention will miss it every single time. They will think, well, she's still doing a good job. They will think, he's not said anything. They will think, if there's a problem, I would know. No, you may not. Some of the most disappointed people in an organization are not loud at all. They're quiet because they already tested whether speaking up would make a difference, and they did not like what they learned. Maybe they spoke up before and got dismissed. Maybe they raised concerns and nothing changed. Maybe they offered ideas and got micromanaged. Maybe they went above and beyond and got rewarded with more work instead of more support. Maybe they got conflicting feedback that kept them off balance. Criticized in one meeting, praised in the next. Told to take initiative, but then controlled when they do. Expected to lead informally, but denied authority formally. That kind of inconsistency wears people down. It creates emotional whiplash. And over time, high performers stop asking, how can I contribute more? They start asking, how much of myself do I really want to give to this? That is a very different question. And once someone gets there, leadership should be concerned. Because quiet disengagement is not just about reduced enthusiasm. It is often a survival response. People pull back because they are tired. Tired of being overmanaged. Tired of being undervalued. Tired of carrying extra weight. Tired of working in an environment where excellence creates more pressure, not more opportunity. This is especially true for people who are naturally driven. Driven people can tolerate a lot for a while because they know how to push through. But just because someone can carry a heavy load does not mean they should have to keep carrying it without support. And that is another leadership mistake. Some leaders see a strong employee and assume that employee does not need much. That is backward. Your strongest people still need support. They still need clarity. They still need healthy leadership. They need to feel seen, and they still need to know their contribution is not being taken for granted. Strength is not permission to neglect people. Now let's talk about what leaders often ignore. One sign is when a formerly engaged employee becomes noticeably quieter. Not rude, not careless, just quieter. Another sign is when someone who used to bring solutions starts saying very little. Another sign is when a person who once cared deeply about outcomes starts doing only what is asked. Another sign is loss of visible enthusiasm. Another sign is emotional flatness. And another big one is when high performers stop correcting things they know are wrong because they no longer believe it matters. That's huge. Because when strong employees stop trying to improve the environment, it often means they have stopped believing the environment can improve. And once belief is gone, exit is usually not far behind. Now, I also want to say something directly to leaders. If you are in a leadership role, this is where you need to be honest with yourself. Are you building trust with your strongest employees, or are you draining them? Are you empowering them or controlling them? Are you giving them clarity or giving them mixed signals? Are you recognizing their contribution or assuming they should just keep producing because that is what they do? Are you listening to their concerns or only noticing them once they have emotionally checked out? Because by the time a high performer gives notice, there's a good chance they've already grieved the job privately. They may have spent months trying to make peace with the disappointment, months lowering expectations, months deciding whether things could improve, months realizing that their best effort was no longer safe in that environment. And when they finally leave, some leaders act shocked. But the truth is, the signs were probably there. They just were not taken seriously. Now let me talk directly to the employees for a minute. If you are listening to this and realizing that you have quietly disengaged, pay attention to that. Don't just brush it off too quickly. Sometimes disengagement is information. Sometimes it is telling you that your environment has been mishandling your effort. Sometimes it is telling you that your boundaries need strengthening. Sometimes it's telling you that your current role is draining more than it is developing. And sometimes it is telling you that you stayed in a misaligned environment for far too long. You don't want to remain in a place so long that your excellence starts shrinking just to survive it. That's the real danger. When you spend too much time in the wrong environment, you can start second guessing your value. You start normalizing dysfunction. And you can start thinking it's normal to be undercut, overlooked, or drained. You can start believing that silence is professionalism, when in reality, it's resignation in slow motion. That's not healthy, and it is not where you want to stay. For organizations, the cost is bigger than people realize. When high performers disengage, companies lose more than output. They lose ideas, they lose initiative, they lose momentum, they lose culture carriers, they lose people who often keep standards high without needing to be told. And that loss happens before the employee ever walks out the door. That is why the resignation letter is not the first loss. It's just the most visible one. The first loss happened when the employees stopped believing their best effort mattered. That is the loss leaders need to take seriously. So here's the bottom line. High performers do not usually disengage because they stopped caring about excellence. They disengage because they got tired of offering excellence in environments that do not know how to handle it. That's the truth. And if leaders want to keep top talent, they need to stop waiting for dramatic signs. They need to notice the quiet ones, the silence, the pullback, the reduced initiative, the emotional flatness, the shift from ownership to bare minimum compliance. Those are not the small things. Those are the warnings. And for employees, don't ignore your own withdrawal either. Ask yourself what your disengagement is trying to tell you. Because awareness is the first step toward making a better decision, whether that means setting stronger boundaries, having a necessary conversation, or preparing for a healthier opportunity. By the time a high performer quits, they've often disengaged for months. The real loss starts long before the resignation letter. And the leaders who understand that will not just react to turnover better. They will create environments where strong people do not feel the need to disappear emotionally before they leave physically. If this message resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. What signs of disengagement do leaders ignore too often? And if you know someone navigating this kind of environment right now, send this video to them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.